watching this country's reaction, specifically how people are reacting to the COVID-19 virus, well, it got me thinking about the state of self-government in America today. So I thought I'd ponder that next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study. Again, where we read and study the Constitution, where we teach the rising generation to be free, where we understand what our rights are. We recognize when they're violated. We prepare to defend and assert them. I'm glad you could join me here today. As always, I'm going to point you to that website, constitutionstudy.com, to where you find everything I'm doing on the Constitution Study. Good news, I have a pre-release sale going on. So if you go to constitutionstudy.com/book, you can find out all about that. You can get your copy of the Constitution Study at a significant discount and maybe pick up some other goodies at a discount as well. As always, all of you that have been sharing this material, I see it on Facebook, I see it on YouTube, I see it from the website. I thank you because it's the spreading of the news, the idea that we can understand the Constitution, that you don't need a law degree, that, you know what, just because someone gets a government paycheck doesn't make them smarter than us. That's all information we need to share. I thank you for everyone who is sharing this. I encourage you to share more. If you haven't shared it in the past, share something new. If you have a question, go to the website and ask it. I love answering questions. If you would like me to speak to one of your groups, be my guest, do a speaking request. I'm still doing online webinars. I'm still doing online meetings where I'll meet with your group over the internet. It works pretty well. It's not quite as good as an in-person visit, but it is pretty good. And it's a great opportunity to take this time when you may have a little bit of downtime and maybe get a little bit of education while we're at it. So with that, let's talk about self-government. I'm sure most of us are familiar with Benjamin Franklin's reaction to the question of what type of government they had given us. His answer was republic, if you can keep it. Well, as I look at the way America, and especially the American people, are reacting, I'm really concerned about the state of the American Republic. You see, I don't see people looking to govern themselves. I don't see people providing for themselves. I see people that are either waiting for government to tell them what to do or wanting to use government to tell other people what to do. In his first inaugural address, George Washington said, "And since the preservation of the sacred fire of liberty and the destiny of the Republican model of government are justly considered as deeply, perhaps as finally staked, on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people." You see, this idea of a Republican form of government, a government where we the people hold power and we elect representatives to act in our behalf and in our name, well, it rests in the hands of the people. Yet what do I see today? Well, as I said, I see groups of people who are waiting for the government to tell them what to do. They look to government to tell them you should wash your hands, or how far you should stay from your neighbor, or you should do this and not do that. Even telling them what is and is not essential to their lives. See, that is not a people governing themselves. That is a people who have let their government go. Now, the other side of that coin are the groups of people that said, this is my opportunity, either verbally or by their actions, to impose my will on others. Whether it's governors determining whether or not you are allowed to go out in public, to what businesses are allowed to conduct business in this time. What we see are governments, people in the name of government, dictating to others how they should live. Now, this brings to me a simple question. Are the sacred fires of liberty being preserved? Put another way, the way Washington said, is the destiny of the Republican model of government good, or is it falling apart? You see, the idea of us as a republic means that we, the people, are still in charge. Those big three words on the preamble to the Constitution, we, the people. We're supposed to be in charge. We're supposed to be the one telling government what it can and cannot do. Yet today, I see most Americans sitting around waiting for government to tell them what to do. And even if they dislike or disagree with what the government says, they're not really doing anything about it. You see, the sacred fires of liberty are going out. The Republican model of government is crumbling. And it's not because of somebody else. It's not because of Washington, D.C. It's not because of your state house. It's not because of some external organization, some group that you don't like, or some country you don't like. It's because of you and me. See, we have been entrusted with a republic. That means we have responsibilities. Now, everyone says, okay, the first responsibility is to vote. Well, it's more than that. See, it's not simply the act of voting. It's who are you voting for? I was answering some comments on Facebook earlier today, and a lot of questions were coming up about things like, well, there's a particularly bad bill. I did an episode on HR 5717, and people saying, well, what do we do? Well, sure, yeah, you should contact your congressman and congresswoman. It's also a good idea to contact your governor and your state representatives and let them know that they need to stand up against such illegal legislation, should it become law. But the idea of saying, no, these people swore an oath and we're going to hold them to it, that's the part that seemed to be missed. People swore an oath to support the Constitution, yet we don't use that as the basis for determining who we will vote for. That Republican government, the destiny of that model of government, is falling apart because we, the people, won't bother putting any effort into it. But it's not just voting. And it's not even just voting wisely, voting based on the Constitution. I see it everywhere. I see it from our unwillingness to serve on a jury, to put the future of a fellow American in the hands of a government bureaucrat or a government judge, rather than we, the people, because we can't be bothered. I see it in people standing around waiting for the government to tell them what to do. What drugs they can try, what treatments they can try, how they should react to this. And what it's led to is this one size fits all, because we've moved it from the states to the federal government. So we have a country with a couple of very serious hotspots for COVID-19 infection. New York City's in trouble. I believe Los Angeles, San Francisco are also in pretty bad shape, but New York City seems to be the epicenter. Yet the entire country is being put on lockdown because you have a few cities that are in trouble. In effect, we're going to cripple the entire country rather than letting the cities that are in trouble deal with the problems the way they need to, and letting the rest of the country deal with it the way they want to. Now, this is not being callous. So what is the best thing for the people in New York City? I heard Albany, Georgia is also a hot spot. Is the best thing for them to have the entire country shut down? To have the entire economy collapse? Where are they going to come up with the money for the help they need if the country as a whole goes broke? It's not logical. It's not rational. But it's what happens when you centralize everything. So rather than letting New York State and New York City do what they have to do to keep their citizens safe, allowing the American people to help them as necessary, but not requiring the American people to become prisoners in their own homes, because certain cities have real problems. To allow people who are sick to try different medications. It's the way things work. It's the scientific method. You make a hypothesis, you test it, then you modify your hypothesis based on the results of the test. Well, how can we do that if we're not allowed to test? If we don't allow different cities and different localities to try different things, how do we know which one works best? We don't. So you have people in Iowa and Kansas in rural areas being told they have to live like they live in a major metropolitan area because we can't conceive of the fact that there's a difference between New York City and a farm in North Dakota. We've not only left this Republican model destroyed, but the sacred fires of liberty in this country are collapsing. The very idea that a government, any government, can tell you whether or not you can do business. Now, you may not consider a certain business essential. But does that mean that it's not essential for anybody? What's essential for you may not be essential for me, and what's essential for me may not be essential for you. But you see, because we've lost this idea of self-government, because the experiment that was entrusted into our hands, we have let slip. The idea that, no, government, you get experts, you give us advice, we decide. We decide based on what's best for us, based on the cost-benefit, the risk-benefit analysis for us in our individual situations. And if some people need to quarantine themselves, hopefully their neighbors will help them. But if we don't allow people who don't need to quarantine themselves, who don't need to isolate themselves, to figure out how to do business in a situation with a global virus, there'll be no one left to help the person that needs quarantine. The Republican model of government, the fires of liberty, have been entrusted to the hands of the American people, and the American people, either through neglect or in some cases contempt, are putting those fires out. They're destroying the Republican model of government. And as much as I like to complain about the politician or the pundit, ultimately it's in the hands of you and it's the hands of me. This is a trying time, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. People are dying. The question is, will we let the sacred fire of liberty go out because those people are dying? Will we let the Republican model of government be destroyed because someone tells us so? With all the focus on COVID-19, we're losing our liberty. We're losing the country that we thought we had. We're not only being told how to live, we're being financially bankrupted in order to help certain people because we've centralized everything. We don't let states take care of their problems, and it is breaking my heart. Now, will it be easy for the American people to take control? No. It takes work to take responsibility for your life. It takes work to be self-governed. But the only other option is servitude. And what I see out of the American people is a begging to be servants, to be slaves, to have a master tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and a willingness to bend the knee to anybody who claims the authority to tell you how to live your life. So my question is, will you let the sacred fire of liberty go out? Sure, the fire as a whole is going dark. But will there still be embers? Will there still be coals? Will there still be hot spots in America where those sacred fires will be kept alive? Where the understanding and the need for a Republican form of government continue to burn in the hearts of the American people? Now, I hope that those coals exist across most of the nation. I can't tell because that's not information that's shared. But I hope you will find this, and I hope you'll comment and let me know, yeah, you're still a coal. You're still burning. You're still trying to light those sacred fires. You want to keep them alive. You're willing to do the work of maintaining a Republican form of government. Comment below. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know what ideas you have of how we can make that happen. But most of all, if you do have a coal or you see somebody with that coal, blow on it. Keep it alive. This experiment has been entrusted into our hands. And even if the vast majority of the American people have let it go out, let some of us keep those fires alive. And maybe we can rekindle those sacred fires, not just for us, but for our children and for our children's children. So I know it's not the most exciting and endearing video, but it's an important one. It really comes down to the question of, will we continue to be a republic? Will we continue to protect and preserve those sacred fires of liberty? Or have we so abandoned this idea of self-government that we will let them go out because nobody will tell us how to keep them alive? Because we're waiting for someone else to take care of the problem for us. Because we see an issue, and rather than taking care of it ourselves, we assume someone else will. Hopefully this got your attention. Hopefully it made you think. Hopefully it made you ponder. Hopefully you will find a coal of that sacred fire of liberty and keep it alive in your heart and in the heart of your family and your loved ones. And you'll come back the next time for the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long